I'm very happy to be in the studio today with Cheryl Crooks. You're the founder.
I'm the executive director.
But didn't you also found?
I'm a co-founder.
Okay, co-founder of Cascadia Women's Film Festival. Cheryl, tell me a little bit about what you're doing out in the community in relationship to, community building.
We just completed our 8th festival. We closed the online festival on Sunday night, and prior to that, we had our 4-day in-person festival. Most of it at the Pickford Film Center, but it was also at the New Prospect and at the Mount Baker Theater, and we're in the Downtown Arts District largely. But we've been doing this now for 8 years to create an awareness and to showcase the work of women directors, and we bring that into the community. And we do a lot of community building, not just with our screenings, because we do workshops, we do panels, and we also do. We have a program that we're very proud of that we kind of borrowed from another organization here in town. It's our home hosting program, so that when our directors come to town, we connect them with home hosts who have volunteered to open their doors and host some of our directors, and that immediately makes a community to filmmaker production. We want to integrate them so they get to know the community, but also from another standpoint, it's raising that awareness within the community about women filmmakers, that there are women working in the industry. We're still, something like, I think last year was 16% of all 250 top grossing films were directed by women. So there's a lot of disparity that still occurs in the industry, and people need to be aware of that.
Tell me, why do you think it's important for there to be more women directors and more women, in all of the craft areas in the entertainment business?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's think about that. There's a certain perspective, right, that different people bring to whatever discipline it is. We did an art show as in conjunction with the festival this year that showcased 35 women artists from the Pacific Northwest, and it was so successful. It was highly attended. It's still up until May 25th at Dakota Art Gallery. But it's just presenting that perspective of a woman's voice or a woman's vision that you don't see otherwise. It's just missing. I remember I was thinking about when I was growing up and the movies that I watched. I think it wasn't until maybe the 70s, and I saw a film by Elaine May that was probably the first woman director I had ever seen. There were women that had been working earlier in the 1920s, and in fact,
the 30s.
And the 30s, and they dominated the industry.
Absolutely.
But that all changed when the talkies came in and the studios became the way the industry operated, and those women were relegated back to being an editor or something like that, and they were no longer directors. So when you don't have that perspective, you're kind of missing the point of view. You just get one side. It's like anything. You get one side of the story.
That concept of, raising underheard voices is part of what KMRE is kind of all about, but it's also what community is all about.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about community as a whole. Like, you're talking about a community of those folks who are interested in filmmaking and seeing women filmmakers, but where does that fit within the broader community too?
Well, just look at the subjects of the films that get tackled, for example. This year was a great example for that. One of the films that we presented this year, very timely, current issue, was a documentary called Preconceived, and we partnered with Planned Parenthood on that one. And it is about the crisis pregnancy centers that are located throughout the country. And it was a very objective documentary. They went in and they spoke with the people who operate the CPCs and what their philosophy was, and they followed 2 women actually through the whole process. And it was to present something that, frankly, there was a lot of stuff in that film that I was totally unaware of. And so it created an awareness and also allows you to gain insight into something you may totally know nothing about. Those kinds of topics, they don't have to be documentaries to, tell these stories. We had a short film. It was a wonderful short film called Evanescence. And it was about a young Native girl who is searching for her missing sister. And it connects with another guy, and they go on this little road trip looking for her sister. But it touches on a lot of themes. So, film is a super powerful medium because it uses all the elements. It's all about that, creating an awareness all the way around. And I told someone today, I said, it's what's happening across the states. I'm hearing reports from other film festivals, and it's become a big year this year for festivals. People are returning to the theater. And I believe one reason that is happening is because it's one thing to sit at home and see a film, watch it on your big screen TV. It's a whole different experience to be together in the theater, in a community situation where you can feed off of one another's reactions. You can discuss things together. We did a lot of Q&As after our films so that people could talk about the movies and ask questions. And at the preconceived screening, for instance, it wasn't just about the film. People were asking questions about Washington state law, which was fascinating. And we had Linda McCarthy from Planned Parenthood there to answer those questions.
So real conversation starters then.
Yeah, it starts the conversation going, and then hopefully, you never know where change is going to come about and what's going to generate that. So I like to think that maybe we have not only the difference that we're trying to make with women in the film industry, but also some of these other things that are, explored in thematically in the films.
It is amazing how powerful film can be in creating real awareness in people, maybe generating empathy for somebody else's experiences.
Yeah, and when you see it, particularly when you see it in a theater, it envelops you because it's big. Most people don't have a screen that size in their home. How
important is it to community building to have access to accurate information and independent media, community radio stations, that kind of thing?
I can't imagine without it. As a former journalist, it's like if you don't have that information, that good information, how is it that you can make any kind of judgment or anything like that? You have to have that kind of information, and for a community to exist, it's the dialogue that causes things to happen in a community. And it's at some point, I think right now we're at a place where a lot of that, it's very conflicted, and so I don't think it's as productive, which is unfortunate, because that kind of conversation, you really need to spark things, and maybe you meet people halfway but without that solid foundation of information that comes from like stations like KMRE, where you can hear accurately reporting and what's going on, then you have the information you need to make your own decisions about what's going to impact your life or what you're going to do and follow through with it. That's my opinion. But
yeah, no, that's really right in line with my opinion as well. We've lost the ability to listen to each other really deeply. I think many of us have lost that ability. I think it also makes a difference when people can tell their own story in their own voice. And not have it told for them. Yeah, absolutely. I
was a pretty good interviewer as a journalist, but the primary skill, and I've run across this sometimes with students, journalists, and I'm doing an interview, and I can tell they want to record it. I said, that you can record it, but you got to listen, because listening is all important. A lot of people aren't listening these days. It's selective listening, filtering, right? I think it's very hard these days as a media person to discern where you can get the the information that you know is really rock solid. Plus, just it's a lot of fun. I listen to the KMRE. I listen to your shows. Margaret Bickman's show is wonderful. I mean, she's great. So, yeah, people need to support KMRE for sure. And you know what? It's a treasure because when you don't have it, then you realize what you've lost, and you don't want to lose it. Take it from me. You don't want to lose it.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Appreciate you being here at our first ever on-air pledge drive.
And thank you guys for everything you do. Really a contribution to the community.